Experience the excitement, the speed, the adrenaline of high-performance racing on an all-new vertical speedway. Introducing Top Thrill 2, the world's tallest and fastest triple-launch stratocoaster. Buckle in and smoke the competition on this extreme motorsport machine.
I know this video is a little late, but now that Top Thrill 2 has been operating for more than a month. Wait. Okay, so maybe it's having some issues currently, but I figured it was the perfect time to share with you my full review of the attraction from my 3 rides that I was able to get in April for the Prayers for Maria preview event. Where do you even start with this attraction and surrounding area? Well, probably the entry plaza, so let's start with that first. From the waters of Iron Dragon to the queue of Magnum XL200, Cedar Point has done their best work to make the area as fitting as possible for the race theme. Signs and racing props line the midway as you make your way to a 420-foot attraction just to see that it's closed. Okay, I'll stop making the jokes now, but hopefully it'll reopen soon. Details on the buildings like the merch shop and photo booth just add so much to the area. It immerses you into the racing theme as you prepare to dash down the racetrack at 120 miles an hour. The futuristic looking signs for the ride, especially as you enter the queue, just help to make the overall environment and atmosphere 10 times better. The entire plaza looks very visually appealing, except maybe the bright gray concrete that it looks like they just painted over, but hey, you do what you have to do to get by. Speaking of that philosophy, let's address the locker situation. Now, as a teenage enthusiast who carries minimal items throughout the day and usually has a non-rider to hold my belongings as I enjoy super thrilling attractions, the locker policy has no effect on me. Some of you might be in the same situation where the lockers are not needed and you have no problem with them. However, during the event, I got the chance to hear from other people and why this is a bigger deal to them than it is to me. First of all, people often need communication with their friends and families at an amusement park. Theme parks are densely packed with many people and it's hard to keep track of your friends, family, kids, etc. when you're in line for an attraction that they may not want to ride or they may not be capable of riding. But it's even harder when your phone or other ways of communication have to be placed in a locker at the beginning of the ride queue. Cedar Point modified the lockers on Steel Vengeance to combat this issue and it works very well. I'm not sure why they didn't learn from Steel Vengeance, but there are multiple ways to fix this issue and I believe they will do it over the off season, even though they could be doing it right now. Steel Vengeance lockers would be great here, but they might not have enough room, so the Yukon Striker loose article bins might be the method to go with here. This eliminates the 2 or so hours that riders have to wait without any way to have communication to non-rider family members and friends outside of the ride's queue. Moving past the lockers, the queue could be better. It has very few switchbacks and it's pretty much a straight shot to the station with maybe 2 or 3 TVs that play racing themed music and animations, but other than that there's nothing much. Then you arrive at the very bland station. There's not much to it besides a wall with the Top Thrill 2 logo and the overhang from the original station. The ride-up booth is overhead now, which I think is kinda cool, but I just feel like the station is missing that detail that most coaster stations have. Now let's talk about the trains. They look so amazing. Not sure how well they will perform under the intensity of the ride considering they already have to have modifications after like 2 weeks of operation, but the outside design of the trains are simplistic and cool looking. I love the front of the train and the open air seats allow for an even better ride experience. They're also really comfortable and the restraints are not too restrictive either. They're very comparable to the Intamin and Mach restraints that they use on their launch coasters. Now to the part that you've all been waiting for, the ride experience. Now I'm sure that you've heard many other reviews of the attraction since I'm super late with this video, but nonetheless, here's my full review of the ride experience from my personal experiences from my 1 ride on the front row and 2 rides in the second to back row. The launch sequence is really cool. I like how they incorporated the countdown from the old ride with the Christmas tree lights on the top hat and the new soundtrack as you count down to your first launch. And it's very adrenaline inducing with all of its racing sound effects and the reuse of Ready to Go. Then, as the launch sequence counts down, you take off at a decent acceleration reaching 74 miles an hour. It's not your Intamin level launch, but it does have a little bit more of a kick than what I was expecting. This is where you get your first real sense of speed, especially in the front row. It's nothing like what you're about to experience, but it's still really fast. You ascend the top hat and stop just where it goes fully vertical, and then you free fall backwards and enter the backward launch. You only gain 27 miles an hour to reach the top speed of 101 miles an hour on the backwards launch, but you still feel the acceleration considering its relatively low gain of speed. You do start to feel the shakiness of the ride. While it's noticeable, it doesn't take away from the ride experience, and it isn't to the point where it hurts. You pass under the station at 101 miles an hour, and you start your ascent of the 420-foot spike. This is one of the most incredible experiences I have ever had on a roller coaster. You start going up, and the ground just keeps getting further and further away, and it feels like you just keep going and going. You can look to your right and see that you're the same height as Power Tower, and you can look to your left and see Ruger's Lift Hill, and it makes it look like a kiddie coaster. The back row gives you an even more stellar view as you experience a moment of weightlessness. After going farther up the spike than I expected, you plummet back down to the ground, experiencing a nice head chopper from the overhang of the original dragster station. You then accelerate to your top speed of 120 miles an hour, feeling the true intense speed of this amazing coaster, especially in the front row where the insane wind engulfs your face. During this launch, you do experience a little more of the shakiness I mentioned earlier, but again, it doesn't affect the ride in a negative sense. Next, you race up the top hat and reach the crest where you not only get a great view, but a really good pop of airtime in the front and back rows. I've never ridden the original dragster, but from videos and POVs, Top Thrill 2 looks to fly over the top hat way faster than original dragster did, providing for some insane moments of airtime, and the height is just insane. Speaking of airtime, the back row has to be my favorite on the top hat because you get pulled over the top hat so aggressively that you are way out of your seat, and then you enter the roll, providing laterals and airtime simultaneously, and it is one of the craziest sensations I've ever had. You do experience it in the front, but it is much more intense in the back. Then you descend into the brakes, experiencing one last bit of shakiness and a slow deceleration. Overall, this coaster is a must ride. It might not have much of a layout, but it ranks in my top 10 and far exceeded my expectations for the ride experience. From my visit and what I've heard about other people visiting on the preview days is that it's pretty reliable during the operating day. And at least for the week it operated, it seemed to be a lot more reliable than Dragster. Now that it's been closed for close to 2 months, it has kind of shown its long-term reliability, which isn't great so far, but hopefully Zamperla can fix this and it's just a one-time thing that they will not have to worry about again. Speculation on when it will reopen is for another video, but this new addition is amazing for Cedar Point and really brought more life to the park rather than having an SB&O attraction for 2 years. I hope they open it up soon so that more people are able to experience this one-of-a-kind world-class attraction, but for now, we'll just have to wait patiently for the second time.